I'm a soup monster! Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today. With me have some more RPG horror stories. So if you had to go to a particular plane of existence for a fun, romantic date, where would you go? And no, I'm not trying to think of ideas to try to get married out for some sort of an outing in the Feywilds or something, or the Hells or whatever. Though I hear the Hells are pretty temperately hot, almost like summer beaches nowadays. But instead of the oceans, you have the river Styx, where the souls screaming violently and stuff. I'm sure it's romantic in some capacity. Anyway, while I give you suggestions to me, I'm gonna get some RPG horror stories for today. That guy being always confidently incorrect. No special warning, and it's not even that deep. This guy just managed to get under my skin super quickly in a Pathfinder 1st Edition Rise of the Rune Lords game. I'm going to call him Gary. We never met, and the entire group of online strangers assembled to play the AP underneath a new GM. I think GM was being new is why this guy wasn't kicked sooner. Started almost immediately when I was talking about my build. I'd taken Divine Fighting Technique as a feat, so I could add my Charisma to my Star Knife attacks as a bard who worshipped Desna. Gary immediately hops in to tell me that can't take it as a regular feat at level 1, after I place my versatile performance for it at level 2. Try to explain to him that this is an optional replacement. It literally says as much on the text line, that anyone could take this feat and a bard just have a secondary way to do it. And he just absolutely bulldozes me in conversation to talk over me to explain how basically I am stupid. Eventually he gets off my back because I show messages from the question channel in the Pathfinder Discord where everyone else made it clear as day that you can just take DFT as a feat, because it's a feat. The equivalent of this would happen basically anytime I did anything. By the time I was in this campaign, which was a few years ago now, I've been playing Pathfinder 1E for 10 freaking years. I was not new, I knew how to play at level 1 bard. He was only doing this to me and I was only woman present, so I have to assume that was the reason. Or maybe he was just mad I knew more about the game than him, wanted to try to nag me at every possible angle. I didn't even mind it when people try to correct me, but the fact that he was both smug and wrong just made him the most annoying person on earth. The straw that broke the camel's back was after a session when I was talking to another player about my build plan for my character, what I wanted to take at higher levels. And Gary just butts in to say, "Do you even know how to have fun?" I'm just freaking stun-locked because how do you even respond to that? What's wrong with this guy? So I just leave the call and the campaign afterwards. GM told me that he didn't last long afterwards, but I was kinda out of it by that point. Still possibly the most purely irritating person I've ever interacted with in Pathfinder game. I think he just liked you. I don't know, man. It seems like a really strange behavior. Definitely 100%. I do agree with you. This is a really strange way the guy's behaving. He's trying to get on your case and try to be like, "That's not how it works. I know better," even though he's clearly wrong. And then when you're just talking about your build, he's like, "Do you even know how to have fun?" What am I supposed to say to that? Yeah, I'm having fun, jackass. I'm having fun talking about my theory build. Not with you, because you're clearly wrong and you don't understand the game whatsoever. So how about you pipe down and sit down and shut up, little guy? Gary just sounds like a kind of person that just wants to have attention on them for some reason. I don't know, maybe they weren't loved as a kid, maybe nobody listened to them as much, maybe they just really want to be the center of attention for some reason, maybe they want to be the person that's always in the right. I've met people that always want to be in the right, and it is just the most difficult people to deal with. My god, it's so dumb, dude. It's so tough and dumb. Trying to deal with a person that just wants to be in the right no matter what, or somebody that wants to have the very last word at every opportunity. It's like, dude, we get it. We get it. If you see yourself as a main character, can we please move on? I gotta do something else. I gotta do another theory craft build. Just shut up already. No, for real though. Gary sounds like they're pretty obnoxious as an individual. But you know who is not obnoxious? Perhaps a person in next story for today. Maybe there will be. Let's find out. Called out in the first minute. This is a mild one, but I still think it's a little weird, so here we go. Also, English isn't my first language, so forgive me for weird grammar and typos. I normally DM a Pathfinder 1E game, but because of scheduling, we only play once a month at max. That's why I decided to look for games near me, and I found a 5e game I could join. It was an ongoing homebrew campaign. OPCs were level 10, which was quite challenging for me because I really don't know anything about 5e, but I managed to roll up a character. DM provided me with the lore of the world and said you'd get bonuses if you worship the gods. There were 4 gods and I picked the one who was considered evil on the surface, but if you actually read the lore, you knew it was the good guy. Enough prep. I entered the game and told everyone out of character what I was playing. Immediately after I met the party in game, one player asked me what god I'm worshipping. That's a weird first question to ask, but knowing my god was considered evil in this world, I lied and rolled a natural 20, which came out to a 23 or something. Then rolled insight and got a non-natural 27. I thought I was safe, but that's when I learned that a natural 20 doesn't matter on a skill check. So the players said they knew who I was worshipping and wanted to fight. Hold on one second. First of all, having players that are rolling checks against one another for the sake of PvP and stuff, that's a sin right there immediately. Second of all, a 20 is a 20. Doesn't matter what it is. 20 is literally a critical success. It is like more than a total of. If you just start ignoring critical stuff, then what's the point of even having critical fails or critical success in the first place? That's the fun, at least to me, for D&D. There's a moment and a point where even if you're not good at something specific, you could still beat somebody if you roll a critical success. That means you overwhelmingly succeed. That's the fun of it. That's the point of it. I get if you're going for like maybe, I don't know, like if a character rolled a death save and stuff and you want to, you know, summarize a total off to basically give them a little bit of a leg up and stuff, but to completely ignore the critical success for the sake of a total of and stuff is just kind of ridiculous to me. I don't know, man. I think it's absurd. Just not letting the player have it. Also not letting the players just, you know, role play it out and have them be like roll against each other. That's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, let's see how this disaster ends. However, the DM threw me a bone and said, "You only know he's lying. You don't know what the truth he's actually hiding." They were very upset, but asked to roll to persuade me to tell the truth. Again, I thought I was safe, because that kind of roll isn't a thing on my usual table, but the DM allowed it, which is why this DM is a complete moron for this. You don't allow players to roll against each other. No player versus player PvP. You can't just roll somebody to persuade just to tell you the truth. It's not how it works. That's not how tables should be running it. None of that is how it works. This is just a terrible DM and a terrible table that allows for such heinous things where somebody can just be cudgeled over just because they have high stats. That is ridiculously insane. Somebody just picks an eloquence bard and you could just out-persuasion the entire party the whole time, all the time, every single time. Maybe even allow somebody to silvery barbs your persuasion check or deception check just to screw you over, just so you can win D&D. This is a bad ruling, completely. The player rolled a 28 or something like that, and the DM asked me for an opposing roll. I knew that was pointless, so even an actual 20 wouldn't get me there, but I rolled anyway and got a 5. Well, that resulted in me saying hello, being recognized as a follower of an evil god, and me telling them all about it within the first interaction. You can imagine that integrating my character into the party was pretty difficult at that point, but we kind of hand-waved it, I guess, and the other players were satisfied knowing my secret, being able to look down on him. I continued to play, but I was getting a bad vibe from the interaction, and I was proven right in the future. I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to end, like further, because this is the end of the story and stuff, but like maybe there's like a part 2, potentially, perhaps, perchance. Maybe OP will post a part 2 or something. Either way, I mean, I know exactly how it's going to end up happening. Players are going to just cudgel their stats and their high charisma checks and stuff. Persuasion is not mind control, especially when you're using another player. It's not just mind control to do whatever you want and stuff. That's not how it works. This DM is an idiot. They're literally a moron. They are total a moron for running this thing in such a way. Anyway, let's get to the next story for today. Hopefully it's a little bit less agitating. Am I being crazy, or is the DM a bit weird about these situations? So a while ago, we just ended a campaign from Burnout after having it ongoing for like 2 years. It was a fun campaign, don't get me wrong, but there were times where DM, at least towards me, was a bit off-putting to say the least. For the record, I was playing a tiefling sorcerer, AE. We're already toward the later half of the campaign. At this point in time, we're all like level 11 to 14. My character already did his backstory stuff with uprooting a cult tied to his family. My friends had their characters go through that, or just start the backstory stuff, so on. Needless to say, the party was already fairly strong, including myself. So anyway, one of the encounters during this time frame led to me doing on a solo operation of breaking into a Skaven hideaway. Yes, the Warhammer Skaven, where I began to terrorize them since Skaven are prone to retreating. So I had a Hound of Ill Omen spook them, while I, with invisibility on myself, and using thaumaturgy to speak louder, made it sound like it came from the dog, since a weird looking dog made of shadows. As the Skaven were panicking, I had halved the fort subject to 3 different fireballs. So I ended invisibility when me and the rest of the group, a Minotaur, an Aasimar, a Goliath, and a Kobold, rounded the rest of the Skaven up for intel. I rolled into Intimidate, then while holding a fireball and the DM went, "Okay, do it with disadvantage." Why?
Well, you made your character look like an e-boy, so it's not as threatening.
I nuked half the fort and killed dozens of them.
Doesn't matter. I'm sorry.
You know what this sounds like? It sounds like your DM just doesn't like your player character's aesthetic. Imagine, if you will, somebody was like, oh, I don't like Morrow because he's orange. He looks like a carrot and stuff. So, I don't care if you don't like me, DM. Personally, I couldn't care less. I roll intimidate. Unless I have specific predisposition about me that makes me less look intimidating, like maybe my weak stature, my 8 strength and everything. Maybe you can go for that, but honestly, I don't care. I'm using my charisma. Unless there's a valid justification for getting a disadvantage, other than you DM saying,
well, your character looks like an e-boy, and I don't like e-boys and stuff, so I'm giving a disadvantage just because I like a character's aesthetic and everything.
That is just stupid. That's just a DM being petty, because they're basically saying that they don't like the way your character looks, so therefore your character gets a disadvantage on their checks. And that's really stupid, or really petty, or really personal, and just dumb. Like, why would you do that sort of thing? Who cares that the character looks like an e-boy? God forbid tiefling looks like an e-boy. Wow, tiefling, e-boy. Well, we've never seen that before, guys. Hot tieflings in your area look like e-boys and e-girls and everything. Wow, we never seen that before, have we? Let's continue. This DM is being absolutely stupid right now, honestly. Judging a character depends on their appearance and nerfing them because of that is so dumb. It's so stupid. Fortunately, I still succeeded in intimidating them somewhat, but not enough to get them to spill information on any other evil rat operations going on in the territory. Still found that interaction a bit odd. That wasn't the only weird issue, as it would involve an epic NPC later on. So for the record, this elf tagged along the party here and there to help us through various encounters. I'm betting it's a DNPC. To describe a character, or how she was supposed to be, was a mellow person who is exhaustedly tied with a bunch of idiots that brings me in my group. At some point in the campaign, DM had the elf confess her feelings to my character. Now, I was not overly comfortable with this, so I brought this up to the DM and said, I don't want to, since I don't feel alright with this. So how about I respectfully turn them down, just so they aren't upset? DM agreed with me, or so I thought. Every other interaction involving my character had the NPCs had to loop back to the elf, giving aggressive remarks to me. The DM kept cracking jokes amidst that being like, dude, you had your chance, man. Later on, like a month after we stopped the campaign, DM brought it up again for a joke, and I sit there and ask, I don't know why you had to make her viciously hate me after all that.
Well, what do you think would happen when you reject a woman?
Dude, I don't think every woman is going to be aggressive all the time if you respectfully turn them down.
Just saying how it is. I don't know what else you're expecting.
For the record, and I don't mean this in any hurtful way, DM has not had a full-on relationship with a girl, to my knowledge. So those weren't 2 instances that happened that came off as odd to me. I'm still playing D&D with this group so far since the last instance. Nothing major has happened in the past few months or this year. I just felt like sharing this because I can't be the only one who thinks the reasoning is a bit weird, right? Your DM is a jealous incel. Well, jealous probably because they're like, oh, your character is an e-boy. I didn't look like that, so therefore you get disadvantage because I don't like your character. And then saying that that last comment specifically, what do you think happens when you reject a woman? And just saying how it is, I don't know what else you were expecting. To think that all women are just so vindictive and bitter when they get rejected? Bruh, like tell me you're an incel without telling me you're an incel. Holy shit, that is some like big sweaty giga incel energy right there. Jesus Christ. There are women out there that can take rejection just fine, just like there are guys out there that can take rejection just fine. Rejection is part of life, and some people, they crash out and burn and start freaking out, while others can take it with a little bit of grace, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's completely fine. This dude has no experience with a relationship with a server in the slightest, probably has no interaction with a woman outside of maybe his mother or something, and thinks he knows how a woman would respond and react to a rejection. I mean, is a possibility that some would freak out? Sure. But to assume that every woman is doing that, that's some incel behavior, dude. That's some crazy stuff. And to bring it up again as if it's some sort of a joke in a bit is strange and weird. And it's just, I don't get it, man. I just really don't get it. At the same time, I'm not paid to explore the minds of an incel. I'm just here to read some stories. And this right here is definitely a bona fide incel kind of story. Well, that's everything I got for today. I'm gonna go ahead and just end recordings and let my throat rest. I was able to struggle through and actually be able to get some stories in through, but I want to just thank you guys very much for watching the videos that I make on here. Honestly, like, I've just had a realization that this channel has been around for basically more than 3 years now, just a little bit few days away from after a 3-year mark. This channel is 3 years old, guys. Let's all blow out the candles, metaphorical candles. month and celebrate the 3 years of this channel. And here's to another one, and hopefully some many more, so we can have fun on this channel. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.